Hello and welcome. You are listening to the Talking Locks podcast with Locitude. This is the Everyday People with Locks series, and I'm your host, Ade Balogun. This episode is produced by Xavage Media. Today, we'll be discussing locks in relation to Islam. Our guest, Sola Bello, is literally a sister. We've been friends for almost 20 years. She is the lead designer at Space Myrus. She is an extraordinary furniture maker. She likes to be addressed as a carpenter. She's an amazing woman who I love deeply, a devout Muslim, and of course, a lockhead. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Hi, Sola.
Howdy.
Hi, welcome to the Talking Locks podcast. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I never expected that you will, because you are rather quiet, and but I'm happy that you have a lot of things to say on this episode, which would be focusing on Locs and Islam. So before I start talking too much, can you please tell us your full name and a little bit about yourself?
Okay. My name is Sola Bello. I studied architecture at University of Lagos. Ade's very good friend. And anyway, okay, I think so. That's all. I make furniture right now, so and I have locks.
All right.
And I've had it for 3 years now. Yeah.
Awesome. That was going to be my next question. So 3 years of having locks. I think
Yes.
the best place to start is, why did you even choose to get locks in the first place?
I think I got bored of my hair. That's first. And then I think secondly, you sort of like sold it to me. So
Okay, for full disclosure, I never realized I was selling it because I was just living my own life. Because the first time you walked into Locitude and told me you wanted to lock your hair, I was like, are you serious? Like, is something wrong with you?
yeah, that was the first time. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So let's talk about Islam for a second. For me, as a typical Lagosian, most of us have Islamic heritage before, deciding to become whatever else in the future. But for you, what does Islam mean to you?
Islam is a way of life. It's my religion. I'm passionate about it. I grew up being a Muslim, so a lot of people feel Islam is difficult, but if you've grown over the years practicing Islam, I think it's one of the easiest religion you can ever think of. It's not what people think it is. So
Okay. I'm going to try and stay on topic because your answer is going to lead me to ask more questions on Islam.
Okay.
But since we're talking about locks in relation to Islam, I would first start by saying that we do all know that women who practice Islam are required by the religion to cover their hair. I don't know if the way I've said that statement is accurate.
Yes.
Yeah. So, can we speak a little bit can you give us some insight for those who may not know why that is a requirement and what that requirement entails really about covering your hair as an Islamic woman?
Okay. Basically, why Islam says cover your hair is Islam wants you to be less attractive to the opposite sex, and your hair, your nails, your fingers, parts of your body kind of are the things that a normal guy would see and then will have interest in you. So Islam, like, trying to curb fornication, adultery. If you don't see what's under, you're not interested, kind of. So
Okay.
You get what I mean? So
yeah, I do get that. So at this point, who gets to see your hair?
your close family members and your husband, your children. Your uncles are not even meant to see. Your brothers, your sisters, your husband, your children.
Those are the only people who
People
get to
that,
see your locks.
people that basically will not be sexually attracted to you, sort of. Normally, they shouldn't be. Do you understand? Because nowadays, you get to find that a baby is looking attractive to the uncle, and but normally, people that should not feel attracted to you.
So now my inkling is because sometimes when a Muslim woman comes to the salon, gets their hair beautifully done and they cover it, it's almost like, what a waste. Why have you just done your hair so beautifully and just gone ahead and covered it and nobody can see it? So do you feel like even making your hair is almost a waste of time?
No, it's not a waste of time. I look pretty to myself. I look pretty to my husband, who is the most important person. If I don't look pretty to Mr. Savage, it doesn't matter.
Okay, all right, that's an inside joke right there. Okay, Shala, we have to be serious. It's not just us listening to this podcast. It's potentially the whole world. No more inside jokes.
Okay.
Right. So,
Okay.
Okay, so I think you've kind of defined it, told us why you would still spend money to get your hair done, regardless of the fact that there are only very limited people in your life who get to see your hair. But I want to speak a little bit to the maintenance of your hair. So you get to cover your hair for what? In 24 hours, at least 8 to 12 hours a day?
When I'm out of the house.
Okay.
So let's say like 8 a.m. to about maybe 6 p.m.
Okay. Your hair
That's
is covered.
4 plus 10 hours. Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a very personal question. With Lagos heat and you sweating under your scarf and doesn't that hair just get to smell?
No, it doesn't. Because I get to remove it, the scarf, later at night, and then it's open. And then for me, I get to wash my locks every other week.
Okay.
No, let's say 14 days at most. I get to wash my hair. Or even at times, maybe twice in a week. Reasons that I will explain later. So,
Okay. Maybe my next question will actually address that. So I do know that a good practicing Muslim is required to pray 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And prayer involves something called ablution, where you use water to wash certain parts of your body. And
yes,
wow, I feel so good at this because I feel I'm on point, and I didn't even do that much research. My knowledge of Islam is really good. And parts of the body that you get to put water on includes your hair. So
yes,
having locks for the past 3 years, and do you feel like putting water not on your hair, not just every day, but 5 times a day? How do you manage that? Do you ruin your styles? Does it feel uncomfortable? What's that experience like?
No, you're not exactly pouring water on your hair. You're just going to dump your wipe the water on your palms and then just wipe it over your head. Put your hands under the tap and then wipe over your head. So you're not exactly pouring water. So by the time you even put your scarf, the scarf would absorb the water that is in your hair already. So you're not putting water. You're just wiping wet hands or palms over your hair.
Okay. Now I think the question I want to ask is really about how at first I was going to title this particular podcast Locs and Religion, because I personally felt that Locs affected more of the Islam world more than Christianity. But in our last recorded podcast, I actually realized that the lady who interviewed, Mrs. Sola Bello, a Christian, actually had no more issues about Locs and Christianity. So that was what prompted me to say, oh wow, there's a whole conversation to have there. So I would say, did you ever struggle with locking your hair being perceived as a sin in Islam?
No, it's not. No, never. You find most Muslims, even people that cover their hair every day, the very, very Islamic ones that cover their hair cover their body all the way, you'll find out that most of them have locks on their head. So it's not a problem actually, as long as you're not putting attachments on your hair as a Muslim, it's fine. And locks is not a part of attachments or extra hair or
Okay, can you tell us a bit of those things that would be perceived sinful for an Islamic woman if they had it on their hair?
Can you come again?
So the question is, you said as long as you're not putting attachments on your hair, it's not a sin. So I didn't realize that could be perceived as sinful because you, from a perspective of Islam, so I would have rather thought that maybe matting your hair, since it's frowned at in society, might actually be perceived more sinful than putting attachments. So I just wanted to learn a few more things that will be perceived as sinful if you did it as a Muslim woman on your hair.
Number one is attachments, and the reason is if you want to make ablution and you have attachments on your hair, you'll be putting water on the attachments, not your hair. So it doesn't make your ablution valid. And if you don't have valid ablution, your prayer is not valid. Second is dyeing of your hair. If originally your hair is yellow, for example, you can't dye your hair as a Muslim woman or man into yellow again. You can dye to any other color, black, green, blue is allowed. I'm sure you've seen a lot of Arab men with their beard dyed and their hair. As long as the original color God has created you in is black, you cannot dye your hair black, but you can dye any other color. That I don't really understand. I've not found time to read deeply into that, but I know that is that's the ruling concerning that part of dyeing your hair. You can dye your hair to any other color, but not the original color.
Interesting. Very interesting information that you have given us there. Okay, so yes, you've given us some insights on what it's like. To be honest with you, when the Muslim women patronage started to increase at Locitude, I was surprised. I was like, oh my God, seriously.
I can almost tell you the reason for that.
Okay, please do. Go ahead.
Okay, the reason for that is when a man and a woman make love, you're supposed to have a particular... In Islam, there are 3 types of bath. You have the one you have a special or spiritual bath. That's the one after sex. There's one when the person dies. And the third one is... I've forgotten. But why you have a lot of Muslims with locks is because for a married woman, when you have sex, you're supposed to have a special bath. And that bath... Okay, the third one is when after your period. Yes, after your period. So after sex, you're supposed to have a certain bath, and which requires you to pour water on your hair. So imagine that I have a what's it called?
Sex 3 times a day.
Sorry?
So if you're having sex 3 times a day, you're going to have this bath 3 times a day.
God bless you. Yes, that's why I say I get to wash my hair frequently, because if I have sex today and I pour water on my hair and I dry it, I'm going to have to wash it eventually anyway.
Interesting. I didn't know Abdulaziz was getting it every 5 seconds. Okay. All right. I did see that one coming there. Wow.
Yeah, so you get to... So for a Muslim woman, imagine me having dada and then I pour water on my hair. All I have to do is dry it and I move on. Or I just pack it. If I'm not able to dry it, by the time I come back, I can just free the hair. It dries up. So you can't compare that to having million braids or having attachments, or it's easier to maintain if you have that kind of lifestyle.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So let us speak a little bit to maintenance of your locks.
Okay.
So for you, I'm already beginning to sense that locks is definitely much
The answer I've
easier.
been looking for all my
Right.
life.
Okay. So what does maintaining your hair seem like? Besides showering like 5 times a day. And when you do shower 5 times a day, how do you keep it moving? What's your routine after that?
Apart from washing my hair every other like week, I enjoy oiling my hair again because I don't know, I just feel like there's this hair product you sell. Am I supposed to do that?
Yeah, it's
Sponsor
fine.
that.
This is Locitude
Okay, there's this
podcast.
hair product. Yeah, there's this hair product you sell is the minty, what's it
Minty
called?
Bust, Locitude Minty
Yes,
Bust.
exactly.
Coming
So
soon
because
to
I like the
Amazon.
smell, okay, because I like the smell so much, I get to oil my hair with it like maybe twice a week or maybe like every 5 days, and and then I get to wash, or but I go to the salon. I try to go to the salon like once a month,
Okay.
but Lagos can be difficult, so sometimes at least once in like 7 to 8 weeks
Okay.
I visit the salon to relock my hair.
So you basically wash your hair yourself and you use oils and then you are fine for
Yes,
the most
yes, and
part,
then dry.
and
Yes.
dry it, and then you find that convenient. Okay, so now I'm just pondering. Is locks something? Would you say locks is something that is familiar? Because I'm sensing how your locks reflect on your relationships in terms of a married couple, especially when it comes to Islam. So there's a lot of interaction with how your hair plays and how you are intimate with your partner. So would you say it's familiar for an Islamic man to know that many of these Islamic women will have locked hair, and this is not even a conversation? And the reason why I bring up this question, let me give it more flesh, is that for me, who doesn't practice Islam, when people see I have my hair open, when I said my locks especially, I would get on your wedding day, what hairstyle would you wear? What if your husband doesn't like it? The first time I started my locks, my hairdresser, he used to be called Nice. Henry, that's his name. Henry told me, you're never going to find a husband with this hairstyle. So there's all that perception that guys don't like it. You're going to be making yourself a little bit more unattractive if you get this hairstyle. That's my own experience towards male suitors and the hair. And I've even had, ex's parents tell you things like you have to cut this hair because it's not befitting. So in the Islamic world, is it perceived differently? Is there a conversation around it? Are men even aware that this is a thing?
If your wife tells you, you would know, but I don't think is a big deal as such. There's no. On the contrary, I think there's a lot you can do with your dada. So because you can style it however you like. For me, it gives me different looks. Although I do the same style, but when I take out my hair, I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm
I
saying
don't
that
think so. Okay.
Did Abdulaziz ever have any input or?
Oh no, at all. He likes it actually.
Okay.
And then, okay, no, don't worry, not the story already. He likes it.
No, but please tell us the story. Tell us the story. That's the story I want to hear.
I told you before. Yeah, I told you before when I said for like 1 year. I've had dada for like 1 year. He didn't notice. Then all of a sudden, when he was growing, he now came to me and said, "You look like what's the name of this footballer with dada did? Iwobi. You look like Iwobi sort of." But he still didn't realize it was dada. That's him. He doesn't really look like that. So he doesn't see a problem with it. He likes it. Now that he's a bit long, anytime I go to Locitude and then I come back and I open my like, oh, okay, you made your hair today, is nice, that kind of thing. So.
Okay, all right. And now I do know your mom very well, and I know that she's a no-nonsense woman. At what point did she realize what you were trying to do to your hair, and what was her reaction?
I told her from day one. As a matter of fact, she wanted it as well. It's just that she has never come around to say, okay, come and take me to the salon or something. It's something she wants, actually.
Wow.
So, because it's convenient. Do you understand? as Muslims is is very convenient. So
Okay.
she likes it. She wants it.
All right. So that means that you are actually having a blast. It almost seems that the Muslim woman is the person that has the least negative stereotype about locks. People don't get to
Yes.
see your hair and judge you, so they don't get to reflect their own perceptions on you. From what you are telling us in your personal story, your husband likes it, your mother has no problem with it. It almost seems like the answer to get rid of the stereotype is just to become a Muslim woman.
Kind of. Although in Islam, I think there are about two school of thoughts concerning having locks on your head,
Okay.
and the first one was what prevented me from having it a long time ago, where there is this hadith or saying in Islam where they say things like if you behave like them, then you're one of them. There's this saying, I don't know whether it's in the Quran or the hadith, but that's what it says: if you behave like them, then you're one of them. So I think in many years ago we had Rastafarians, and
We still
then
have
you know
them.
it's Rastafari. Yeah, we have them. Yeah, okay. Well, I think the way they used to have their own dada then was they never really used to wash their hair. They never really used to do. The thing was just there, and then it would
They would
form
free form.
the exactly naturally. So it was being, I think, yeah, and then so it was associated with being dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So there are two schools of thought in Islam that say, okay, you're not supposed to have it because these people used to have it. But the style and manner in which we achieve dada now is not being dirty. Do you understand? Because some people believe it's being dirty. So some Muslims will say, no, it is wrong in Islam. You're not supposed to have it. But sometimes when they give you this information, you're supposed to read more, ask questions, and then do your thing.
Okay.
So
Okay, so you did
some
your
people
own
believe
fair
you're not
bit.
supposed to have it.
You did your own
Yes, I
fair bit of
asked
research.
questions. Yes, I asked questions, and so I'm not. I don't think it's wrong.
Okay. Okay. All right. And in the last 3 years of having your locked hair, how has that made you feel personally? What does your hair do for you?
I'm free. It feels like freedom. If I tell you how much I love my hair, I think I must have told you this before. That I'll wake up one morning and I'll feel like telling you, oh, in fact, I love my hair, or I take pictures of my hair a lot. If you go through my phone, you'll see different stages. That's what I've been doing for a very long time. After maybe going to the salon, I'll come home, I'll take my picture, I'll be like, after like 12 weeks, days at 22 weeks, like pregnancy sort of. So I have the entire process of the growth of my hair on my phone. So
Okay.
have I answered your question?
Oh, yes, you have answered my question. You've done more than answered my
Okay.
question. I think you have shed a lot of light on what it's like to have locks as a Muslim woman, and a little bit about what the restrictions are, who gets to see your hair, how family perceives your hair. And just out of curiosity, have you ever, because for most of us who carry our locks openly, and we usually have negative experiences. I'll tell you one. I think I haven't mentioned that on this podcast. I'm trying not to repeat the stories I have with other guests on the podcast so that I don't have just the same stories over and over again. But when I started my locks, I used to work at ACCL, which is an architectural firm, and my hair was spiky, and I refused to braid it or wear a wig, and I'll just get to work. And my colleague Chidioke used to call me Taribo West, So, so this would be us like sitting down, working in the office, and they'd be like, Taribo West, let me put on the printer. That used to be for those who may not know, Taribo West used to be a popular Nigerian footballer who had locks.
I had dada.
Yes. Yeah, I like that you've been calling it dada, actually. I really do like that. And I'll get to that. But the question I was going to ask, has anyone had anything ever negative towards your said anything negative towards your locks or your hair? Have you had any negative experience?
No, they just usually keep quiet. Maybe I meet somebody or we're talking and I just say, oh, by the way, I have that. They're like, really? They just keep quiet. No comments. Do you understand? So I sense that those are the kind of people that probably would have had a problem with it if I was opening my hair. But they would just not make any comments. They would just be like, oh, really? With one stupid face expression. Or facial expression, yeah.
Well, I must also say that you are not a very nice person. You're usually mean. So maybe those people are afraid that you're going to beat them up. That is why they keep quiet. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yes, there was something you brought up. I was going to say, yes, throughout this conversation, you have, I feel Dada is the official Nigerian name for locks. I do know that the people in the north refer to locks as Dada. Down in the southwest, Yoruba speaking people refer to it as Dada. And I'm not very sure about the eastern part of Nigeria, but when you say Dada, you usually know that you're referring to somebody who has locks. Some people find it derogatory, some people don't. But throughout this conversation, you've referred to your hair as Dada. What does that mean to you?
For me, it's easier to pronounce. Yoruba is easier for me to speak than English. So, Dada is Dada.
Okay. All right. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah. I do like the term Dada as well, but sometimes you know that some kids who have had Dada are usually related to the
Celestial Church of Christ.
Exactly. And so some people feel like there's something special, awkward about them. So when you say, Dada, I'm like, no, I'm not Dada, I'm not Dada, I just have, locks or dreadlocks. And I think that would be an interesting conversation to have. Like, I know I've written about it a few times, but it would be a more interesting future episode to explore, locks, Dada, dreadlocks, what to call your hair, and what is the meaning. Yeah. So, this conversation has actually gone by very quickly, and you have very eloquently shared your thoughts on locks and the Islam world and what it means for an Islamic woman. I'm afraid I was thinking I would even have so many more questions to stab you with, but but you have done pretty well so far. I have one more question, and I think we'll wrap it up from there. My last question to you is, what advice do you have for other women or in Islam or men in Islam? Maybe I have two more questions. Before you give us advice, do men in Islam keep locks? Is it allowed for a man? Do you know?
No, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to, just like the way a man is not supposed to grow his hair.
But they can grow their beard though.
Yeah, you cannot. I think the word is no. Wait, you're not supposed to behave like a man, and a man is not supposed to behave like a woman. So women are not supposed to wear pants, that's trousers, like men in Islam. So men also are not supposed to braid their hair or make their hair like women. Do you understand? You're not supposed to behave like a, so. And braiding your hair or making your hair is associated with women. So you're not supposed to be like. So men are not supposed to in Islam.
That is interesting. I'm realizing I have even more questions. So let me ask this. We have been westernized. It is interesting when we are African and we know exactly where we're from. We have a feeling that we know who we are. But meanwhile, a lot of the things that we do, even up to the food that we eat, has become very westernized. So to speak to the fact that Christianity and Islam are adopted religions from the West, I don't know if you agree with that.
I don't think so.
Okay. What I was alluding to is the fact that as adopted religions, it's interesting to know what exactly, which is a different conversation altogether, what exactly our own beliefs were pre-colonialism, Western religion and all of that. But well, let me just go straight to my last question and ask, what advice do you have to other Muslim women, since we do know now that Muslim men it would be inappropriate for them to decide to keep their hair. Go on.
Can you come again?
Now I'm saying, what advice do you have to other Muslim women who are considering locks and are struggling with the decision?
Go for it. You won't regret it.
And when you have sex 10 times a day, you can shower very
You can
easy.
just, pour the water and go out. You don't need to do anything to the hair again.
Okay, I think that's been the funniest part of this conversation. I'm hoping I'm not going to have to mark this episode as explicit. I think we've been decent so far. So, Sola, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. It means a lot to me, and I think I have learned one or two things, and I do hope that this conversation is useful for somebody out there. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you very much, Ade.
All right.
It was nice chatting with you. Yeah.
As always, we'll continue our gossip later. All right. That was an interesting episode. I hope you found it as entertaining, educative, and informative as I did about Locs and Islam. In our next episode, we would be exploring locks in relation to kids. And we're going to have an actual 6-year-old on the episode. It's going to be fun. Are you thinking about locking your kid's hair? Or do you actually ever wonder what it's like for a child to navigate the polarized world we live in, having locks? Then this episode is one that you definitely want to listen to. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Talking Locks podcast with Locitude. It has been such a pleasure being your host. My name again is Ade Balogun, and thanks to our producer, Xavage Media. Please don't forget to follow us on social media. We are at Locitude, Locitude, and you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And for more interesting podcast episodes on Everyday People with Locks, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We are currently on Google, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. And don't forget to keep it locked with an attitude. Bye.